Live from New York, it's Saturday Night Live, and a review about Saturday Night. Based on the true story of what happened behind the scenes leading up to the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live on October 11th, 1975 at 11:30 p.m. and those famous words that were almost never said.
We're excited because there's never been a television show like this.
Do you even know what the show is?
Did anyone ask Edison what a light bulb was before he harnessed electricity?
Who are you in the metaphor?
I was never really a legit SNL fan. So what did I think of this movie? Pretty good, actually. I really enjoyed it. I feel like real SNL fans won't like this movie because they definitely fudge a lot of details. You can tell even at times without knowing the true story that they're really dramatizing things and to make it a more interesting, compelling, and thrilling movie. It's not very factually true in a lot of ways, but I personally like the way that the story was told. It is a very propulsive movie. It moves at a clip pace, and that's because the whole lead up to it is the movie starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday night, and we get to see in real time everything that happened all the way up until the broadcast began. And so this movie has this ticking time clock quality to it, literally and figuratively in the movie, and it is so cool to see. I love that storytelling aspect, and I loved the soundtrack to this movie. I thought it was awesome. Like a whole other character in the film is this soundtrack. The way that this movie is edited, it is so sharply edited, and then at times the movie just lets the camera linger and follow people around, and there are so many cool tracking shots in this movie. Some amazing oneers that are like a minute and a half long, and that is probably some of the best parts of this movie is like watching Lorne Michaels walk through the set and talking to people, shaking hands, putting out fires, both figuratively and literally. That's when this movie is just so compelling and so cool to see. There are so much really cool visual things happening in this movie that you might not even notice on a first watch, and I really would like to see this movie again when it comes out to watch at home, because there are so much details in this movie that you can't quite catch it all at once. And I knew that as the film was kind of unfolding in front of me. I was going, yeah, this is definitely a rewatch just to see all the things that are happening in the background. The choreography to this movie to like get those tracking one shots, and actors are getting, into fights because of their egos, and, this set isn't quite working, this costume doesn't work, and I love the chaos behind this movie, and it's a really cool behind the scenes sort of film.
Chaos.
This is probably one of Jason Reitman's best directed films. He's done other movies like Thank You for Smoking, Juno, Young Adult, Ghostbusters, Afterlife. And I'm very much a hit or miss with Jason. Like some of his films I really do enjoy. This movie I think is his best sort of crafted film in the sense of like the cinematography, the actors, the performances, the setting, the feeling of this movie. I just really loved what he was able to pull together with this amazing cast and crew. Gabriel LaBelle is having a hell of a year. He just recently was like young Steven Spielberg in The Fabelmans. He had an amazing role as Moose in Snack Shack, one of my favorite films of this year. And now he is Lorne Michaels on a Saturday Night Live movie. And I thought he was great. He might have been a bit too young to actually play Lorne Michaels, because I think Lorne Michaels is supposed to be in his like late 20s, early 30s here. And I think Gabriel LaBelle, to me, is like just graduated high school. And I thought he did a really great job. Another amazing performance by Cooper Hoffman, Gabriel LaBelle, and the two of them on screen have great chemistry. They have a couple of really powerful scenes together. And then the rest of the cast is amazing, especially Corey Michael Smith, who plays Chevy Chase. And I didn't know anyone could really play like a good Chevy Chase. He's a singular entity, and he's not trying to imitate Chevy, but he's definitely putting on, some of his mannerisms and the way he walks and the way he delivers his lines and the way he smiles, I thought was pretty much spot on.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, tripped over my penis.
Dylan O'Brien, who played Dan Aykroyd, and again, didn't imitate Dan Aykroyd. Dylan O'Brien doesn't look anything like Dan Aykroyd, but he just captured his spirit and his essence and kind of what Dan Aykroyd meant to SNL and the people at that time. And something pretty cool about this film is I actually watched this on October 11th on, now technically a Friday night, but a whole 49 years exactly earlier than the first SNL broadcast, which this film is based on. I thought that was just a really cool, fun thing that I got to do, and I didn't even realize I was doing it until I was doing my research to record this video. I appreciate that this movie really tries to show the pitfalls and the triumphs of being like a television producer. I loved that about this film. Now, this movie is definitely not perfect, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first thing is they definitely spread themselves a bit too thin and are trying to show so many characters and so many people involved in this production that they kind of lose their story a bit, and it should have been a little bit more focused on like Lorne and Dick and like their friendship and their relationship, or the relationship between him and his wife, or they should have maybe focused more on the actors and less on Lorne. But instead they kind of give the brawl, you know, this general sprawling point of view to this film about everyone kind of gets their 4 minutes in this film, and then nothing else comes of it, and you don't get a much emotional attachment to these characters, to these people, because you know, like, they become successful and they become a hit show and stuff, but also they just don't have characters to necessarily grab onto at an emotional level. It's definitely also a bit messy at parts and a bit slow, and considering it's an SNL movie and it's a movie about the first Saturday night, I thought it would have been a little bit more creative and chaotic than what it actually came off as.
You want to see crazy? I'll tell you.
I just felt like this was a filmmaker who came at it from a very safe place, and instead of taking more bolder risks with this movie. I'm curious what this film would be like in the hands of another director. Most of this movie takes place in the studio, and when this film is inside of the studio, you know, and things are going wrong and Lorne's walking through everything, like, this movie is alive and vibrant and awesome. Whenever the movie takes random detours outside of the studio into like the boardroom or into the ice skating arena with John Belushi, like, the movie just pumps on the brakes and it just comes to a total halt. I think they could have cut out like 1 or 2 scenes and it would have vastly improved the pacing of this movie. Feels a little anticlimactic because you know it's going to be successful, so there's that in the back of your mind. Just the way the emotionality is not built through these characters. When they do go live, you're like, cool, that's great. And then that was kind of it. And I walked out of the theater going, that was a great movie. But I've kind of almost already forgotten about it in a way. And that's how you know the movie didn't quite make like a huge impact. But perhaps the biggest thing for me about this film is that I'm not sure what this movie's really saying beyond this is what it takes to put on an SNL skit. This is what it was like leading up to those final, you know, hour and a half before the first broadcast ever happened. I'm not sure what else it's trying to say. Like, there's nothing deep or really too investing about this film, and the stakes feel high yet simultaneously don't. But overall, it was definitely one of Jason Reitman's best films, one of his better movies. The acting, the performances, the directing, the way that this movie feels, the cinematography, the production, like, all of that is really cool and really spot on. For someone who's a casual fan, I thoroughly did enjoy this flick, and I do recommend this movie. Thumbs up! Before I get my final thoughts on this film, if you like this video, please make sure you click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Comment down below, what did you think of Saturday Night? Were you a lover of this film? Are you a big SNL fan? What is your favorite Jason Reitman movie? I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments down below. So overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give Saturday Night a B+. Come back and check out some other video reviews, such as the double feature of Speak No Evil and Never Let Go, and the double feature of Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot. Thanks for stopping by, everyone, and we'll see you on the next film.